So this video is going to go over what are the fastest TTK SMGs inside Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer. This is a very exciting video, so let's get straight into it. So we're going to give a quick thanks to the sim.gg website because that is where we actually got our data from for this video, but let's get into our spreadsheet. So our spreadsheet here has all the chest damage profiles and the head damage profiles for each one of the SMGs that are currently in the game. We also have each of the TTKs at every range, and this is chest TTKs only, so just keep that in mind. We don't have a mixed shot location or anything just yet, but this is just so you get a rough idea of what the TTKs are like, and chest TTKs are more than likely the kind of average TTK anyway for most guns. Now, as you can see here, we've got all TTK numbers, and the main ones we want to focus on is close range TTK because that is where you should be using your SMGs. So we're going to arrange this from the fastest TTK to the slowest, of course. So as you can see here, we've got the LACHMANN sub at close range. This is basically below about 8 meters. This is the fastest killing SMG in the game. Then we've got the VAZNEV, which is also pretty quick. Then we've got the MX9, which I think is going to be one of the best SMGs in the entire game. FENNEC, then the FSS Hurricane, MINIBAK, VEL, and then the P90 or PDSW. Now, obviously, some of the guns lower down on the list are going to obviously have less recoil, and the guns higher up on the list are going to have more recoil, so it kind of trades itself off, and that's how they usually tend to balance weapons. But overall, fastest TTK gun at super close range is the LACHMANN sub. Next up, we do have the second damage range, which is also very important as well, because this will take you to about 10 to 15 meters for most SMGs. And as you can see here, the FENNEC, and then it's the LACHMANN sub once again. So as you can see, it's a similar kind of weapons making the top of this list. And then we've got the VAZNEV once more, and then the MX9. It's got a very consistent kind of middle of the pack TTK, regardless of what range you use it on. Now, when we go into the third damage range, you can then see the FENNEC, and once again, the LACHMANN sub, definitely up there in terms of TTKs. The VAZNEV, again, not too far behind. And now the VEL kind of takes over the MX9. And again, we'll do the final kind of damage range here because it is only a couple of guns that have a 5th damage range. And again, we've got the FENNEC and the LACHMANN sub once more. And then we've got the VEL 46. So as you can see, at longer ranges, the MP7 or the VEL 46 kind of starts to take over a bit. And the FENNEC and the LACHMANN sub have the best kind of close range TTK out of all the SMGs in the game. And this can be expected. This is what it feels like in game for me as well. Now let's try to organize these guns in some kind of system here. So we've got close range guns that you want to definitely use, and then we've got long range kind of SMGs that will perform well at distance. We've got kind of ones that kind of do a bit of both, and then we've got ones that you probably shouldn't use in this game at the moment. So starting off with the FENNEC, I think the FENNEC is definitely a solid close range choice, definitely a very good SMG within that range. The Hurricane, unfortunately, when it comes to TTKs, it just doesn't really stack up with any of these other guns, whether it comes to close range or even long range. It doesn't really perform very well. I think it's been absolutely nerfed since the beta. Now, when it comes to the LACHMANN sub, it's probably the best close range gun in the game, so I highly recommend it. In terms of TTK, it pretty much wins every single time, more or less. MINIBAK, again, is one of the ones where I don't really recommend using it. It doesn't really do well in any aspect of the game when it comes to long range or close range. When it comes to both, the MX9 is okay, it handles itself well, and it has very decent recoil control on top of that, so I do think the MX9 can be used, but just keep in mind you're going to get beat out at close range by the ones up at the top here. When it comes to long range, the PDSW is definitely a solid choice. Now, it doesn't have an insanely fast time to kill, but in terms of recoil control, it's super easy to control. It's probably the easiest one to control out the whole entire list, and that is why I do think the PSDW still gets used, because it's super easy to use. VAZNEV, again, is one of the ones where it can do a bit of both. It actually has a really middle of the pack TTK, so if you do enjoy using this gun, I have to eat my words here because I did say this is one of the worst SMGs in the game, but it actually does perform very well if you can control the recoil of it, so it does actually do a bit better than the AUG or the MX9, whatever you want to call it. And then lastly, at long range, which is probably better than the PSDW, which is the VEL 46 or the MP7, definitely the best long range SMG in the game, and everyone kind of guessed it by far already. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.